Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the latest record from Temples. This one is entitled Hot Motion. Temples are an English neo-psych rock group formed back in 2012. I was recommended to review this album by Lawrence over at Vinyl Search 2015-60. Over the past month or so, Lawrence has been leaving comment after comment on some of my videos, and I really do appreciate it. He's been taking the time and effort not only to watch my own videos that I put out, but he's also sharing his thoughts and opinions in a very detailed manner. So make sure you check out Lawrence's channel. It will be linked down in the description. Now, talking about Temples, the first album that I checked out from them based on Lawrence's recommendation is their debut from 2014. This one's called Sun Structures. And with that debut, you can really start to pin down the sound of this band. They are psychedelic influenced. You can think of early 60s, late 60s, kind of that transition period between Mersey beats and psychedelic. You think of bands like the Beatles and the Hollies. We have that proto rock and roll in the early 60s and that reverbed vocal style that the Hollies did on many of their records. I'm confident to say that Sun Structures is the best Temples album. Then Temples released their sophomore efforts in 2017. It's called Volcano. This one started to throw in a lot more of an electronic influence. I think of artists like Tame Impala, Broken Bells, Foster the People, kind of modernizing the 80s sound a bit. Not many songs are sticking with me from this album since I've listened to it, and then that's what brings us to the third album, the one that we're going to be reviewing in this video here, which I'd have to say that Hot Motion is a combination of the first two albums that Temples have already released. And no, that's not in a bad way. I think that they take the strong elements from the first album, the strong elements from their follow-up as well. They put them together. They kind of have a bit of a dream pop aesthetic to them. They have some prog influence as well. Let's just dive into the track list, and right off the bat we get a song that I really love. It's the title track, Hot Motion, and this one sounds like a return to their debut album sound. We have that Hollies inspired 60s Mersey beat sound I was talking about earlier. It's certainly one of the stickier melodies on the project, and this album is pretty melodic. And I have to say, it is a good thing to have one of the better songs at the beginning of your album to kick things off, because if you don't captivate your audience right within the first 30 seconds, there's no turning back. It's kind of like this YouTube video. I don't know if my first 30 seconds were engaging or not. Moving on from there, the second track on Hot Motion is called You're Either On Something. I would say this is one of the more underwhelming tracks. It's my least favorite. It sounds a lot like Foster the People, and that's not a horrible thing to say. I do like Foster the People. I just feel like this one is a little bit derivative. Bringing things back into my good books on Hot Motion, we have the song Holy Horses, which has some jangly guitar strumming. It reminds me quite a bit of some cuts from the Parquet Courts record last year, which I absolutely enjoyed that record. So anytime that you can write a song that reminds me of another one that I love, good on ya. Moving on from there, The Howl is one of my favorites on this record as well. We have this drum line that kicks off the track. It's very brooding with the tone, which is typically beyond the scope of Mersey beat, but that's what makes a few of the songs on Hot Motion innovative. They kind of bleed the lines between Mersey beat and garage rock at times. Now, Temples, they don't always have to be so innovative with each and every song on this album, and I don't think that's really the focus or the purpose of this album. Temples, they can certainly come through with some strongly penned lyrics too. I think of a track like Context. It's a song that has low-end bass that acts as this novelty to distract us from that much-needed social commentary on taking things out of their context. I like cheese. Or maybe I don't. See? Out of context. Now, circling back to the musical ideas on Hot Motion, I like the polyphonic texture towards the end of the track, The Beam, and how the voices of the group contrast each other. This spacey kind of outro is a great foreshadowing for the subsequent track, Not Quite the Same. On this one, we get some chunky and heavy bass lines in addition to the guitar-led interludes, which are the best on this track, I think, compared to the rest of the album. It's too bad the melody couldn't be as memorable. I feel like a handful of cuts on this record kind of fly over my head and would have been better off being left as instrumentals. And I guess to expand or elaborate on my thought there is one song in particular on Hot Motion that summarizes my thoughts at large. This one's called Atomize, and I feel like this one is innovative to a degree, where we have that Mersey beat come together with garage rock, like I was mentioning earlier. We have thick and sludgy bass that I also love, but I feel like the tunes, the melodies are kind of lost on me. Like, I will hum some of them for the rest of my day, but nothing's really sticking with me a day after that, a week later. Nothing is terrible or outright horrible on this album, and I do like a good number of tracks. I just feel like some tunes are forgettable more than others. Positively with this record, I think there is a great sense of pacing to it. I like the amalgamation of a couple of my favorite bands that I can pick up with influences on here. They might not know of them, but I kind of see the influence. I hear some dreamy and jangly soundscapes of parquet courts mixed with some scuzzy blues and garage rock, that revival of garage rock with the Black Keys. The only major difference between putting together the Black Keys and parquet courts' sounds, we get the vocals from James Bagshaw, who is the vocalist of Temples, and I feel like his vocals are much sweeter and angelic, definitely not rough around the edge like post-punk or blues rock. So I guess the main takeaway of this album, Temples, they did the best what they could. I think they returned to form what they had going for them on their debut album. Not only this, but they also did their best with switching drummers, switching record label, and for that I am compelled. Still, I think there is some magic missing from the formula that they had down on their debut. So I'm feeling a 6 out of 10 on Hot Motion. There's the review of the new Temples record. Make sure you sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of this music. Agree or disagree, I'm here to engage with you guys. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a rockin' day.